YouTube, how's it going? The Go Nows is back. I got an updated mock draft for you guys today heading into week 10 of the NFL season. Recently got by the trade deadline, so there was actually a change in the first round teams picking in the first round because of the Bradley Chubb trade. So now the Broncos have the Dolphins pick, which actually was from the 49ers. So that makes it interesting to update one of these. And the stock changes, we're kind of getting later in the college football season. Players creeping in the first, dropping out. So excited to break it down. We'll have more NFL draft content in the offseason and draft season, of course. In season, we got all kinds of in-season content here, weekly picks and a lot more. Join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Follow us on Twitter. Link pinned in the comments for that, as well as our sponsors, GLD Shop, Liquid IV. We have code GOAT for both those sites for a discount. So check it out. I'm rocking the Eagles GLD Shop pendant right now. They have NFL teams, as a few NFL jerseys as pendants. They're pretty sick. Real stuff, very affordable. Check it out. Links pinned in the comments. To the mock draft. Real order right now. Current order heading into week 10. Texans, multiple routes they can go here. Really thought about multiple routes. They could go quarterback. Davis Mills been all right. Late in games, crucial moments, he hasn't been particularly strong. So they could maybe go with a guy they feel that has more upside because they're still trying to get that upside of Mills. So maybe they're like, yeah, this guy we feel better about. They can take him, work with him because they're still somewhere in that rebuild stage. Could go that route. Really thought about Jalen Carter, the defensive lineman from Georgia, because the Texans, maybe their biggest need might be interior defensive line. They are dead last stopping the run, need more help there. Carter just had a monster game against Tennessee. I think teams will have him number one overall on their board. But Will Anderson and that just being a dominant edge rusher is huge here. The value of the pass rush position here, the edge rush position is, we knew it's high, but it feels like it's skyrocketing constantly here. We saw the trade deadline, what the Panthers were asking for Brian Burns, what the Dolphins had to give up for an expiring contract to Bradley Chubb. So Will Anderson, helps them in a big way. Definitely worthy of the pick. So the Texans go that route. Panthers go Will Levis, quarterback from Kentucky. So quarterback of their choosing here, and I have them going Levis. A lot of buzz about him. NFL teams being high on him. He could be the first quarterback taken. A lot of people bringing up Josh Allen. Yeah, similar body type, similar strength, similar weaknesses coming out as well. It's just about polishing him a little bit, fixing him up a little bit, get that upside out of him, because his issue mainly right now, the footwork's a little bit of a mess. The mechanics aren't really there. And NFL teams will be extremely confident that they'll be able to fix that. And then get the most out of him because they're not going to be able to teach arm talent, which Levis has. He has the toughness, the athletic ability. So they'll be very confident that they can polish him up and fix that like teams did with Josh Allen. Everyone's trying to look for that next Josh Allen type player here, or Patrick Mahomes type player. And Will Levis has a lot of work to do, maybe more work to do than the other guys, but the upside is higher than those other guys there. So the Panthers go for the upside guy of the class. Raiders go Jalen Carter, who could go first overall, like we said. One of the quarterbacks could as well. But the Raiders definitely need help on the inside, interior defensive line, and Carter really can move around a bit. And we see the problems he caused. He had a monster game in that huge game against Tennessee as well. So the Raiders, add him inside of Max Crosby, Chandler Jones, that can boost their defense that much more. Really thought about adding a tackle. It's a very strong class, looking better and better each week, and they would add that guy to play right tackle, so that's a possibility as well. Steelers go Bryce Young, so they get to choose between Young and Stroud here, and I know they have Pickett. They can't be attached to Pickett. They cannot, and then they get a lot better with Bryce Young here. They could go offensive line. I feel like they're going to be a little stubborn. I think they're going to insist on developing that offensive line even before developing Pickett there. They have those receivers, the weapons. They believe in those guys, and Young is a guy that can distribute the ball to them much better and more, a lot more than a guy like Kenny Pickett. So I don't think they'll be worried about his size either. So they have an opportunity to get a lot better right now and for the future at the most important position in football. I think they would take that shot. Just mainly the decision is Young or Stroud. I think they would go quarterback here. It's just Young or Stroud. And I just think they'll be more comfortable with Young. His ability to escape the pressure, get outside, throw on the run to those receivers that they have, Deontay Johnson and George Pickens there. So Lions, fifth pick, go with Stroud. Maybe not the biggest need to replace Jared Goff. Maybe not the biggest. It's a need. They have other bigger needs, but it's your opportunity right now. Your opportunity to replace Goff with a guy like Stroud. And it's kind of rare at pick number 5, so I think they would have to pounce on that opportunity there. So the Lions go Stroud. And then 6, the Jaguars go Peter Skoronski. tackle from Northwestern. They would probably play him at right tackle. They have Cam Robinson at left. Juwan Taylor's going to be a free agent. He hasn't really lived up to the hype either. I know they have Walker. Fans always bring up Walker Little to me. I think if he was good enough, he'd be playing over Juwan Taylor right now. And he has major injury concerns. So Skoronski's been a stud. There's some talk that he could be an even better guard. It just reminds me of Slater, who was the same talk, and he was actually from Northwestern as well. Worked just fine at tackle. Worst case, he's a really good guard right here. So, which that's good for the Jags because they can use either future right tackle or another guard right now. Cardinals go Christian Gonzalez, the Oregon cornerback who's been outstanding this year, former Colorado corner. He just had a fantastic game against Colorado, his former team there this past weekend. Got his hands on the ball twice. Love the length. Absolutely locked down in coverage, very athletic as well. Cardinals been looking for a corner. It feels like they've been looking for another corner for a bit here, and they just have not been able to get that right guy. So they would take a shot on either Gonzalez or Ringo, two stud corners here. I went with Gonzalez. The Bears go Bijan Robinson, the running back from Texas here. They can go multiple routes. I mean, they just moved on from a couple defensive players. Trading him away, obviously, at the deadline, Roquan Smith, Robert Quinn. I liked Robinson for them because we know the Bears, this staff, they want to run the ball a lot. They don't want to have Fields throw. They want to have him throw more, a little bit more and more every step of the way, but they don't want to have him throw 30, 40 times a game. They want to run the football, and then Robinson is a special talent. Plus, Montgomery's going to be a free agent. He hasn't been super effective this year. It almost feels like Khalil Herbert's better, but they keep insisting on Herbert being more limited, playing Montgomery more. I think if they really loved Herbert, they'd play him really the amount they should be played. And I think Robinson day one is better than both those backs for sure. He's just an electrifying player, very fun to watch, and that can open things up for the run game further. It can open things up for Justin Fields, open up the passing game even more. So Robinson, that rare type of running back talent here. The Bears go that route. Again, thought about some offensive linemen. They might like their young tackle duo, though, so that was the tough part there. I don't think a guard's worth this pick, in my opinion. No linebacker worth the pick. They're looking for a fit in that 4-3. Definitely not worth the pick here. And then you look at pass rushers. I honestly think they would rather go Robinson in that route. So that's where I went at the 8th overall pick. And then next, Packers are picking 9. That's strange, and tough decision because there's a lot of good tackles for this 9th spot. And I thought about Michael Mayer, the tight end from Notre Dame. Could definitely see him on the Packers. He'd be very good with Aaron Rodgers. So it was hard not going that route, but the Packers are usually good. When the time is right, we got to make sure we get that offensive lineman. To replace, Bakhtiari keeps getting injured, unfortunately, and they need a right tackle as it is. I know Elgin Jenkins can play right tackle, he can play guard, he can play all over the place, but the great thing is Paris Johnson Jr. has a good experience playing guard as well, but he's a very solid tackle, so this could be, a starter right away, but then the future replacement of David Bakhtiari there, so that is a little more important, even though I love Michael Mayer for the Packers. Eagles, this is very strange, too, because if the season ended today, we'd have 4 picks in a row that were traded picks. That's pretty wild. It's probably not going to end like that, but Eagles go Tyree Wilson, the edge from Texas Tech, who's a stud, obviously, can move around a bit. Tackle for loss machine this year. It was a standout last year. You love the length combined with the athleticism. He was going to check all those boxes. So, freaky dude. Eagles have a load of pass rushers. But Robert Quinn's kind of a rental type deal, and they're always looking for more pass rushers. Remember, Brandon Graham is getting up there in age as well. So they are always looking for pass rushers, and they're probably going to have less. They will. By the time it gets to the draft, they're going to have less than they have on their roster currently today in Week 10. So they'll be looking for a stud like Tyree Wilson here from Texas Tech. The Seahawks grab a pass rusher. This picks from the Broncos is looking pretty good right now. So they need another pass rusher. They grab the Clemson defensive end Myles Murphy, who should fit in because it's kind of that Carlos Dunlap style, different, but kind of that build of a defensive end, which they don't really have right now. Taylor's more of the athletic, speed rusher guy on the outside. Nwosu's kind of a hybrid off ball, mainly edge, but off ball. So you kind of get that physical defensive end and Myles Murphy. Thought that made sense. The Lions go Keele Ringo, the corner from Georgia. Great game against Tennessee. You see his standout ability in man coverage as well. The Lions have run a ton, and it might be a different staff next year, but they want to run man coverage. They want to run a lot of it, and Ringo can do that. So the Lions have some corners on their team that are like they're decent names like that. Like these guys could be good. They've struggled a little bit. They've had their moments, but it's a good fit that can make you even better here. I thought it made a lot of sense. And the Texans from the Browns go Michael Mayer, tight end from Notre Dame. They're still looking for another tight end. And this could help Davis Mills progress even further here and just help the offense in general. Mayer this season broke the Notre Dame tight end reception record and the touchdown record. Notre Dame's known for pumping out some tight ends, so that looks pretty good for Michael Mayer. Colts went a little bold here, somewhat. They go Hendon Hooker, quarterback from Tennessee. The downside is he's going to be 25 coming this year, and that is why maybe he doesn't go in the first round. But I think he's very, very talented, very talented. And I think there's bound to be teams that need a quarterback that look at it and say, he's still young. He's not as young as some of the other guys, and he's progressed every step of the way. He's a good quarterback that we want to work with, and they take him. I think they're going to look at the talent first. He's not going to fit every team. I know Tennessee schemes a lot of things up there. Some guys end up wide open, but Hooker knows how to find them. He knows how to sling it downfield. He knows how to escape pressure, get some yards himself. So the Colts, which the staff's probably going to be completely different, so it could be a different look offense, could go Hooker there, and I think they're in that mode to draft one. I don't think they're going to take a shot on another veteran that's a maybe if they can get Garoppolo as a free agent, but how's he going to be going from the Niners to the Colts? I don't think they're going to mess with that stuff anymore because they've been doing it and it hasn't worked. So they draft their guy here. Maybe they have to move up for one of those top 3 guys. Falcons go Isaiah Foskey, the edge rusher from Notre Dame, who's been really picking it up lately, really getting after the quarterback recently and been big on punt block as well. But the Falcons could use another pass rusher in there to pair with Ebiketie, who's been solid for them, the rookie from Penn State. So the Falcons grab Foskey. Commanders go Clark Phillips, cornerback from Utah. William Jackson obviously traded. He hasn't been playing even before then. So they had St. Juice step up along with Kendall Fuller. So adding another guy in there. Clark Phillips is kind of built like a slot guy, could play there, but Fuller also can play on the inside. I think Phillips can also play on the outside, so they could use another corner in there to kind of complete that defense. Could use a linebacker as well, but Jamin Davis still could be getting better, and I don't think a linebacker is really worth the pick here. Could use an interior player. I like the fit of Clark Phillips in that Rivera defense if Rivera is still there. And then Brian Bruze, defensive lineman from Clemson, goes to the Patriots. Could use another defensive lineman up there, obviously. Kind of pair him with Christian Barmore. And, maybe just too good to pass at this point. Maybe he's been a little underwhelming because we know he could have been a special player. But I still like the upside there from the Clemson standout defensive lineman there for the Patriots. And then the Bengals go Broderick Jones, offensive tackle from Georgia. And Jones has a shot to go, top 5. That's why this was tricky. I think some of these tackles have a shot to go way up there, but whichever ones don't, could slide down a little bit. But Jones from Georgia, the Bengals could be looking for that left tackle in the future. I could see Jones fitting in at guard, too, if you need him to. So either or for the Bengals. Osiris Torrance, the guard from Florida for the Buccaneers. They definitely need an upgrade at guard. We saw the difference between last year and this year. Another tackle that has a shot to go very early here. Some guys end up slipping through. But Alu Fashanu from Penn State kind of came out of nowhere. That haven't really heard his name before this year, but he's been fantastic. And the Broncos, who now have the Dolphins pick, which is from the 49ers, and then they have it from the Bradley Chubb trade. Could use Fashanu at the right tackle position because Bowles will be back next year at left tackle, but a lot of upside here for the Penn State standout. Chargers grab that receiver, Jackson Smith and Jigba, kind of a do-it-all type receiver. Been a little underwhelming this year. Marvin Harrison Jr. has been more of the standout guy, but he is not eligible for this 2023 draft. In Jigba for the Chargers, which they could use another receiver, mainly right now because of injuries, but they definitely could use another one because they want to be a high-powered passing attack with Herbert. You need more options. You need a guy like Smith and Jigba who's got, I think he can do it all. You can see him underneath, downfield, play in the slot, play outside. So maybe like another Keenan Allen. As Keenan Allen's kind of getting older, you see the injuries pop up there that hold him out longer than they should. So you kind of got to find another one of those guys. The Ravens go Quentin Johnston, receiver from TCU, big body, contested catch guy. Which the Ravens have their speed guys, right? So they can kind of use a guy like this, like a Mark Andrews, but a receiver version of it for those contested catches. And they definitely need another receiver. They're just a little stubborn with getting them, but I think they would like Johnston here. Titans go B.J. Ojulari, edge from LSU. Could use another edge guy. I know Harold Landry's injured, but Bud Dupree, how much longer is he going to be there for? That's the question. and just could use another guy because once they have an injury, then the defense is still playing very well. Once they have an injury, they're kind of out of guys in that position. I know they have Danico Autry, who's usually more of a defensive lineman, kind of playing, rushing off the edge a bit, which that works. But having another body in there, and Ojulari's been big for LSU this year, especially down the stretch here. Javon Dexter, defensive tackle from Florida for the Seahawks. Shelby Harris has been really good for them in that trade. He just played very well against the Cardinals the other day or yesterday, and so he's been good for them, but they have some free agents. Poona Ford's a free agent. Could use another body in there as well. So they add Dexter on that defensive line from Florida, who's had a fantastic season so far. In the last 8 picks, the Jets go Siaki Ika, nose tackle from Baylor. Jets are looking like a pretty complete roster. It's just kind of, the offensive line's beat up. They could use a tackle here. The ones I like for them are off the board. So that was tough, but it just feels like they're looking for a nose tackle still. I kind of get that feeling still. They keep, trying guys out, looking for guys. They got a really good defensive line. They're just kind of missing that nose tackle. So Ika kind of gives you a little bit of Vita Vea, poor man's Vita Vea vibes there, but could go in the first round. He had a monster season last year, but you see the upside for that nose tackle. Could be one of the more dominant nose tackles in football. The Cowboys go Cedric Tillman, receiver from Tennessee. They're all Jalen Hyatt, the other Tennessee receiver, who's a deep ball, speed guy. But Tillman, you see him back in the rotation. Another guy that's kind of a do-it-all guy, can run any route, really good with the footwork, really good after the catch. Cowboys could be looking for another receiver. Giants definitely looking for another receiver. Jordan Addison just felt like a Giants-type receiver, like a good Sterling Shepard, or he has a lot more upside too, but a good replacement of a guy like that. It just feels like it would fit in that offense to me. And definitely could use a guy here. Galladay hasn't worked out. They have a lot of injuries. They have a bunch of free agents coming up. So Addison made some sense here. The former Pitt receiver, now a USC receiver. Chiefs go Jared Verse, edge from Florida State. Could use a tackle because some struggles at right tackle here and there. And then left tackle's Orlando Brown. He might be a little too expensive for them when he's a free agent. If they tag him, he may not play for them. So they could use a tackle here. But I like Verse. I like what he's been doing for Florida State this year. And I like the fit in the Chiefs' 4-3 defense there. And then, how much longer is Frank Clark going to be around? Carlos Dunlap, guys like that. Looking out for the future. Karlaftis and Verse there. The Vikings go Kayshon Boutte, LSU receiver, who's starting to pick it back up a little bit. LSU in general is picking it up. A little disappointing from Boutte early in the season, very early. But the Vikings could be looking for another receiver. Thielen getting up there in age, still solid. I just noticed him. He keeps playing through it, but I noticed he's kind of limping a lot during the games. And they kind of showed interest in Brandon Cooks a little bit, not as much as a team like the Cowboys, but at the deadline. So they want to throw the crap out of the ball, and they just want more options here. So another LSU receiver here for them. Brandon Joseph, the Notre Dame safety. The more and more I watch him, the more I think Bill's safety. I think you'd fit really well with that defense, and this is really going to depend on what they do in free agency because Jordan Poyer is going to be a free agent, one of the better safeties in football. And they tweaked his contract instead of giving him an extension, giving him the money that he wants, deserves. So that tells me a lot. I don't know. It's weird because it's hard to see them not like. Why wouldn't Poyer wants to stay there? The Bills would want to have him back. He's so good for them. But then they would just extend him. I guess they wanted to see how it played out this year. But what do you need to see at this point of his career? So I thought that was a little weird. It almost tells me they could be in need of a safety. And then we saw Hyde hurt this year as well. I like the fit of Brandon Joseph for the Bills. They could be in need of a safety. On top of that, they don't have a whole lot of giant needs, so it is tough to figure out the Bills. They struggled a little bit against the Jets this past week. Obviously, they lost. Offensive line didn't play super great, so maybe they could be looking for an offensive lineman. And the Eagles at 31, we know they were in the market for a running back at the deadline, and they get a stud here with Jahmyr Gibbs, all-around running back. I've kind of been saying for a while that he reminds me a little bit of Kamara. People kind of jumping on that. So would love him for the Eagles there. They could take Bijan Robinson early as well. That's a possibility. But they go Gibbs here at 31, which would be a tremendous value pick. There's quite a few other guys that could sneak in the first here that are worthy, but these are the guys I got right now kind of looking at fits, who's worthy of picks here, who's on the rise, things like that. So we update this from time to time during the season. In the offseason, we got these like crazy because it's pretty much draft season in the offseason here. So yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts there in the comments. We're always talking, interacting with you guys on Twitter. Check us out there. Links pinned in the comments for that. Anything else you're looking for, like, subscribe to notifications on here on the channel because we have full NFL coverage. Join us for that. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.